The alarm screamed through the maintenance deck of the Eternal Horizon. Haiyan Wu dropped his welding tool and ran toward the command station where his supervisor stood pointing at the main screen. Something was out there in the darkness of space, tumbling slowly between the stars. "It's a ship," the supervisor said. "Damaged badly. Life signs detected but weak." Haiyan Wu pressed his face close to the screen. The vessel was unlike anything he had seen before. Its hull was smooth and curved like a seashell, colored in shades of silver and blue that seemed to shimmer even in the cold vacuum of space. Parts of it were torn open, exposing the interior to the void. "We should help them," Haiyan Wu said immediately. The supervisor shook his head. "Not our problem. We have our own mission. 300 years to reach New Earth. We can't risk contamination or conflict with unknown aliens." But Haiyan Wu would not accept that answer. He contacted Captain Nam directly, bypassing the chain of command. It was a risky move that could cost him his position, but he could not ignore the people dying out there. After 20 minutes of argument, the captain finally agreed to a limited rescue operation. The rescue team suited up and crossed the gap between the two ships in small pods. Haiyan Wu was among them, his heart pounding inside his chest. When they cut through the damaged hull and entered the alien vessel, the sight made him stop breathing for a moment. The aliens were beautiful in a way that seemed impossible. Their skin was silver, actually silver, like polished metal, but soft and warm to touch. Patterns of light moved under their skin like living tattoos, pulsing weakly with their fading life force. They were humanoid with 2 arms and 2 legs, but their fingers were longer and their eyes were larger, colored like amethyst gems. Most of them were dead. The rescue team found 12 survivors out of what must have been a crew of 50. They carried the survivors back to the Eternal Horizon carefully. Like precious cargo that might break down in the medical bay, Haiyan Wu helped Dr. Young Mi stabilize the aliens. One of them, a female with markings that glowed pale blue, kept trying to speak. Her voice was musical, like wind chimes in a soft breeze, but the words made no sense. "She's trying to tell us something," Dr. Young Mi said, "but we don't have their language in our database." Haiyan Wu leaned closer to the alien woman. Her eyes met his, and something passed between them in that moment. Recognition, maybe, or understanding that went deeper than words. She reached out with her long fingers and touched his hand. Her skin was warm, warmer than human skin, and the light patterns under her surface pulsed brighter at the contact. "Lyra," she said, pointing to herself. Then she pointed to him, making it a question. "Haiyan Wu," he replied, saying his name slowly. She repeated it, mangling the pronunciation, but trying hard to get it right. Despite the terrible circumstances, he smiled. She smiled back, and he saw that her teeth were small and white. Almost human got over the next few days. The aliens began to recover. They called themselves Valerians, and they came from a star system 40 light years away. Their ship had been attacked by space pirates and left for dead. They were scientists and explorers, peaceful people who meant no harm. Haiyan Wu volunteered to help repair their ship. He spent hours in the docking bay with the Valerian engineers, learning their technology through gestures and simple drawings. Lyra was always there, working beside him. She was their chief scientist, he learned, an expert in energy systems and faster-than-light travel. They developed a way to communicate using a translation device that Dr. Young Mi built. It was crude and often made mistakes, but it worked well enough. Through this device, Haiyan Wu and Lyra talked about everything. She told him about her homeworld, a planet with purple oceans and cities built from crystal that sang in the wind. He told her about Earth, the ancient homeworld that humans left behind generations ago, known now only through stories and old videos. "Your people travel so far," Lyra said one day while they worked on replacing a damaged power conduit. 300 years in space to reach a new home. That is brave. Your people explore the galaxy, Haiyan-Wu replied. That is brave too. She laughed, and the sound made his heart do strange things in his chest. Maybe we are both brave, or both foolish. As weeks passed, something grew between them. It was more than friendship, deeper than simple attraction. They began to seek each other out, even when there was no work to do. They would sit in the observation deck and watch the stars together, sharing comfortable silences that needed no translation. But not everyone was happy about their friendship. Haiyan, who had known Haiyan-Wu since childhood, pulled him aside one evening. You're spending too much time with her, Haiyan said. People are talking. They say it's not natural. A human and an alien getting so close. What's not natural about it? Haiyan-Wu asked, anger rising in his voice. She's a person. She thinks and feels and dreams just like we do. She's not human, Haiyan said flatly. And this ship is all we have. We can't risk problems with the crew over your alien friend. Haiyan-Wu walked away from that conversation feeling sick inside. But he did not stop seeing Lyra. If anything, he spent more time with her. On the Valerian side, there were problems too. Lyra's sister, Syrah, confronted her in the docking bay one day. Haiyan-Wu watched from a distance as the two Valerians argued, their light patterns flashing in colors that seemed angry. Later, Lyra came to him with tears in her strange, beautiful eyes. My sister says I dishonor our people, she said. She says I am forgetting who I am, spending time with a human. She says when our ship is repaired, I must leave and never look back. Haiyan-Wu took her hands in his. They fit together perfectly, human and alien, as if they were made for each other. What do you want? He asked. Lyra looked at him for a long moment. I want to stay, she whispered. With you. But I do not know if that is possible. We'll find a way, Haiyan-Wu promised, though he had no idea how to keep that promise. The Valerian ship was nearly repaired. In a few more days, it would be ready to fly again. The two crews would part ways and travel in opposite directions through the endless dark. The thought of losing Lyra made Haiyan-Wu feel like he was being torn apart inside. That night, in the quiet of the observation deck, Lyra taught him a Valerian word. Escher, she said, pressing her hand over his heart. It means a soul that recognizes another soul, even across impossible distances. Escher, he repeated, pressing his hand over her heart and feeling the warmth of her life beneath his palm. They both knew that what they felt was real. But real or not, the universe seemed determined to keep them apart. The decision came suddenly, like a storm that had been building on the horizon. Haiyan-Wu stood before the colony council, his hands shaking but his voice steady. Beside him stood Lyra, her silver skin glowing softly in the harsh lights of the meeting chamber. I request permission for Lyra to remain aboard the Eternal Horizon as a permanent resident, Haiyan-Wu said. The council chamber erupted in noise. 12 council members sat in a semicircle, and 11 of them looked angry or shocked. Only Captain Nam remained calm, though his face showed concern. Councillor Ji-Hoon stood up, his face red with anger. This is madness. Our charter is clear. The Eternal Horizon carries humanity to a new world. We are a closed ecosystem, carefully balanced. We cannot simply add an alien to our population. She's one person, Haiyan-Wu argued. One brilliant scientist who could help us. Her knowledge of energy systems is far beyond ours. Today it is one alien. Ji-Hoon shot back. Tomorrow it is 10, then 100. Our ancestors planned this mission for pure human colonization. We cannot abandon that vision because one young engineer has become infatuated with an alien creature. Lyra flinched at the word creature, and Haiyan-Wu felt rage building inside him. She is not a creature. She is a person with thoughts and feelings and rights. Rights? Another council member, an older woman named Park, spoke up. What rights? She is not human. She is not part of our society. We owe her medical care and ship repairs as a matter of basic decency, but nothing more. Dr. Young-mi rose from her seat in the observer section. May I speak, Council? Captain Nam nodded. The floor recognizes Dr. Young-mi. I have been studying Valerian biology since they came aboard, the doctor said. They are remarkably compatible with humans. Their biochemistry is different, but not dangerously so. There is no contamination risk. In fact, I believe that cultural exchange with the Valerians could benefit our people greatly. Benefit us how? Ji-hoon demanded. By diluting our human heritage? By introducing unknown elements into our carefully planned society? The debate raged for 2 hours. Hyen-woo felt hope dying inside him with each passing minute. The council was not going to approve his request. He could see it in their faces, hear it in their voices. Meanwhile, on the Valerian ship, Lyra faced her own trial. Commander Vex, her father and the leader of the Valerian survivors, called her to his quarters. His light patterns flickered with disappointment and anger. You shame our family, he said without preamble. You shame our entire species with this foolish attachment to the human. I love him, father, Lyra said simply. Love? Vex's patterns flashed bright red, the Valerian color of extreme emotion. You barely know him. You cannot love someone so quickly, especially not someone from another species. But I do, Lyra insisted. My Escher recognizes his. We are meant to be together. Escher is a concept for Valerians bonding with other Valerians, Vex said coldly. It does not apply to aliens. And you seem to have forgotten something important, daughter. You are already promised to another. Lyra felt her heart sink. She had indeed forgotten, or perhaps tried to forget. Kale, she whispered. Yes, Kale. A warrior of high rank. A strategic alliance between our family and the House of Vel. The betrothal was arranged when you were young. It is binding according to our laws. I never agreed to that betrothal, Lyra said desperately. I was a child. I had no choice. Choice? Her father looked at her as if she had gone mad. Since when do children choose their own mates? We are not barbarians. Marriages are arranged for the good of the family, the clan, the species. Your feelings do not matter in this. They matter to me, Lyra said, tears running down her silver cheeks, glowing softly as they fell. Her father softened slightly at the sight of her tears. Daughter, I know this human seems appealing. He is exotic, different, brave, perhaps. But these feelings will pass. When we return home, when you see Kale again and remember your duties, you will understand that this was just a temporary madness brought on by the trauma of our near death. It is not madness, Lyra said quietly, and these feelings will not pass. Back on the human ship, the council reached its decision. Captain Nam delivered the verdict with obvious reluctance. The council has voted 7-5 to deny your request, Hyen-woo. Lyra may not remain aboard the Eternal Horizon when the Valerian ship departs. I am sorry. Hyen-woo felt the words like physical blows. He looked at the council members who had voted against him, memorizing their faces. This is wrong, he said. It is the law, Ji-hoon replied with satisfaction. In his voice, Hyen-woo left the chamber and went straight to find Lyra. He found her in the docking bay, staring at her nearly repaired ship with an expression of deepest sorrow. They said no, he told her. My father said no as well, she replied. And he told me something I had tried to forget. I am betrothed to another Hyen-woo, a Valerian warrior named Kale. The marriage was arranged when I was young. Haiyan Wu felt as if the floor had dropped away beneath his feet. Betrothed? You never mentioned this. I tried not to think about it, Lyra admitted. In my heart, I rejected that betrothal long ago. But according to Valerian law, it is still binding. My father says I must honor it. They stood in silence for a long moment, both of them drowning in despair. But then Haiyan Wu grabbed her hands. There has to be a way, he said. Some law, some loophole, something that can help us. Over the next few days, they researched desperately. Lyra searched through Valerian legal codes on her ship's computer. Haiyan Wu combed through human law, looking for precedents. Anything that might help. Dr. Young Mi became their ally. She worked in secret, running tests and gathering data. One evening, she came to them with excitement in her eyes. I have found something incredible, she said. Humans and Valerians are not just compatible, we are extraordinarily compatible. Our genetic structures are different enough to prevent most diseases from crossing species, but similar enough that we could potentially interbreed. Do you understand what this means? In all of galactic history, there are almost no examples of two intelligent species being this compatible. How does this help us? Haiyan Wu asked. It establishes a biological basis for your relationship, Dr. Young Mi explained. It is not just attraction or infatuation. There is a deeper compatibility here. I am writing a paper about this. If it is accepted by the scientific community, it could change how both species view interspecies relationships. But even this news could not lift the darkness that settled over them. Lyra's ship was now fully repaired. The Valerians were preparing to depart in 3 days. The human crew grew more hostile toward Haiyan Wu. Someone painted slurs on his quarters door. Others refused to work with him. Even Day Haiyan, his oldest friend, seemed uncomfortable around him now. The Valerians treated Lyra with equal coldness. Syrah would not speak to her. Other crew members whispered behind her back, their light patterns showing disgust and disappointment. On the final night before the Valerian departure, Haiyan Wu and Lyra met in secret in the observation deck. They held each other and watched the stars, knowing that tomorrow those same stars would separate them forever. I will never stop loving you, Haiyan Wu whispered into her hair. Nor I you, Lyra replied, her tears glowing as they fell onto his shoulder. But love, they were learning, was not always enough to overcome the barriers that species and culture placed between souls. The morning of the Valerian departure came too quickly. Haiyan Wu stood in the docking bay, watching the final preparations, his heart heavy as stone. Workers moved equipment and supplies, preparing to disconnect the two ships. In a few hours, Lyra would be gone forever. But then Lyra came running through the bay, her light patterns flashing in colors he had never seen before. Hope, maybe, or excitement. Behind her came Syrah, looking troubled but resigned. I found something, Lyra gasped, grabbing Haiyan Wu's hands. An ancient law, almost forgotten. It is called the Talverus, the trial of truth. It allows anyone to challenge any contract or custom through combat trials. Combat? Haiyan Wu repeated, his stomach sinking. Not just combat, Syrah said, speaking to him directly for the first time. 3 trials. Mind, body, and spirit. They test everything about a person. Few have ever attempted it, and fewer have succeeded. What happens if I invoke this Talverus? Haiyan Wu asked. You would challenge my betrothal to Kale, Lyra explained. You would face 3 trials designed by the Valerian Council. If you succeed in all 3, the betrothal is broken, and I am free to choose my own mate. But if you fail even 1 trial, you must accept exile from both our peoples. You could never see me again, never contact me, never even speak my name, and I would have to face Kale himself? Haiyan Wu asked. In the 2nd trial, yes, Syrah said. He is one of our finest warriors, trained since childhood in combat. He is faster and stronger than any human. Haiyan Wu looked at Lyra. Her purple eyes were full of hope and fear mixed together. "Do you think I can do this?" "I do not know," she said honestly. "But I know you are brave. I know you are smart. I know your people have a saying about humans never giving up, never surrendering. Maybe that will be enough." Before Haiyan Wu could respond, alarms blared through the ship. Captain Nam's voice came over the intercom, calling all senior staff to an emergency meeting. Something had happened. In the meeting room, they learned that news of Lyra and Haiyan Wu's relationship had spread beyond their two ships. Other alien species had heard about it. The Galactic Concord, a loose alliance of spacefaring civilizations, had sent a message. They were interested in this unprecedented situation of two species attempting to form a union. "They want to observe," Captain Nam explained. "If Haiyan Wu invokes this Talvaris, the Concord will provide a neutral space station for the trials. They will monitor everything to ensure fairness." "This is becoming a spectacle," Commander Vex said angrily. "A private matter between families is turning into galactic entertainment." "No," Lyra said firmly. "This is important. If we succeed, we prove that love can exist between species. We show the galaxy that barriers can be crossed. Is that not worth the attention?" Counselor Ji-hoon stood up. "The Human Council has not approved this. We will not allow one of our people to risk his life in alien trials for a relationship we do not support." But to everyone's surprise, Dr. Youngmi spoke up. "Actually, you cannot stop him. I have been researching human law as well. Every colonist has the right to pursue happiness as long as it does not endanger the mission. Haiyan Wu's participation in these trials is his personal choice." Ji-hoon's face turned red. "This is madness." "Maybe," Captain Nam said quietly, "but it is his madness to pursue." Haiyan Wu made his decision. "I invoke the Talvaris. I challenge the betrothal between Lyra and Kale." The words, once spoken, could not be taken back. The wheels were set in motion. Over the next 2 weeks, both ships traveled to the neutral space station provided by the Galactic Concord. During that journey, Haiyan Wu trained harder than he had ever trained in his life. Mi Sun, his younger sister, became his physical trainer. She was a security officer, skilled in combat and fitness. She pushed him to his limits and beyond, building his strength and speed and endurance. "You will be tired," she told him during one brutal training session. "You will be hurt. You will want to quit. But you cannot. Humans do not quit. That is what makes us special, brother. We are too stubborn to know when we are beaten." Bei Haiyan finally came around, his conscience apparently bothering him. "I am sorry I was not supportive before," he said. "I was afraid. Change is scary. But watching you fight for what you love has taught me something. You are braver than I ever was." He helped Haiyan Wu study Valerian culture, learning everything they could about how Valerians thought and fought and viewed the world. But it was Lyra who taught him the most important lessons. She trained him in Valerian mental disciplines, teaching him how to quiet his mind and focus his thoughts. She taught him about Escher, the Valerian belief in soul recognition. "The third trial will test whether our souls are truly compatible," she explained. "It is done through a shared consciousness. We will." Be joined mentally, experiencing each other's deepest selves. The trial will create challenges designed to drive us apart. We must hold on to each other through everything. "I will never let go," Haiyan Wu promised. Meanwhile, Dr. Youngmi made a discovery that worried her. She called Haiyan Wu to the medical bay one night and showed him her findings. "I have been analyzing data from Kale's ship," she said. "I hacked into their medical database, which I probably should not admit. But I found something disturbing. Kale has been receiving biological enhancements. His strength, speed, and reflexes have been artificially boosted far beyond normal Valerian levels. That is cheating. Hyanwu said. Yes, but there is no rule against it in the Talverse. Dr. Youngmi replied. The law is ancient and does not account for modern technology. I have also discovered something that might help you, though. Human brains have something called neural plasticity that Valerians lack. We are better at adapting and learning new patterns. In the mental trial, this could give you an advantage. As the day of the trials approached, tension built on both ships. Some humans began to support Hyanwu, impressed by his courage. Others remained opposed, led by Ji-hoon, who made speeches about the dangers of mixing species. On the Valerian ship, opinion was also divided. Some admired Hyanwu's bravery in invoking the Talverse. Others saw him as an arrogant alien who dared to challenge their sacred customs. Kale himself made only one public statement. I will crush the human in the trials, he said. He has no chance against me. When I defeat him, Lyra will see that I am the superior choice and will accept her proper place at my side. The arrogance in those words made Hyanwu angry, but he channeled that anger into his training. He would show Kale what humans were capable of. The night before the trials, Lyra came to Hyanwu's quarters. They sat together on his small bed, holding hands and not speaking. There was nothing left to say. Tomorrow would decide everything. Are you afraid? She asked finally. Terrified, he admitted. But I am more afraid of losing you. That fear is greater than any fear of pain or failure. She kissed him then, the first real kiss they had shared. Her lips were warm and soft, and the light patterns under her skin glowed brightly with emotion. Whatever happens tomorrow, she whispered, know that I love you. My Escher recognizes yours. That will never change, even if we are forced apart. I love you too, Hyanwu replied. And I will not fail. I cannot fail. Humans are too stubborn to accept defeat when we fight for what we love. They held each other through the night, drawing strength from their connection. Tomorrow the trials would begin, and Hyanwu would face challenges that would test everything he was. But tonight they were together, and that was enough. The space station was enormous, built by the Galactic Concord, specifically for diplomatic events and trials like this one. Hyanwu stood in the preparation chamber, looking at himself in the mirror. He wore simple clothes, as required by the rules. No armor, no weapons, no technological aids. Just himself and his determination. Outside, hundreds of beings from dozens of species had gathered to watch. This was unprecedented, a human challenging Valerian law through ancient trials. The viewing galleries were filled with curious aliens, their various forms and colors creating a strange rainbow of observers. Captain Nam came to see him before the first trial. You do not have to do this, he said. No one will think less of you if you walk away now. I would think less of myself, Hyanwu replied. I have to try. Mi-sun hugged him tightly. Remember what I taught you. Humans endure. We outlast. When everything else fails, we simply refuse to quit. Then it was time. Hyanwu walked into the trial chamber, and the first test began. The mental trial took place in a room that seemed to exist between reality and dream. 3 Valerian mentalists, powerful psychics with glowing patterns like fire, stood in a circle around him. They closed their eyes and began to chant in their musical language. The world dissolved around Hyanwu. He found himself in a maze that stretched in all directions, walls made of crystalline light that shifted and changed constantly. Voices whispered from the walls, speaking his deepest fears. You are not good enough, the voices said. You are just a simple engineer. What makes you think you can defeat a Valerian warrior? What makes you think you deserve Lyra? Images appeared in the crystal walls. He saw himself failing, saw Lyra turning away from him in disgust, saw the disappointment in his sister's eyes. The maze grew darker and more twisted, the paths becoming impossible to navigate. This was designed to break him mentally, to make him give up in despair. But Haiyan Wu closed his eyes and remembered what Dr. Young Mi had told him. Humans had neural plasticity. They could see patterns where others saw only chaos. He stopped trying to fight the maze emotionally. Instead, he analyzed it like an engineering problem. The shifts in the walls were not random. They followed mathematical patterns, like wave functions or fractal geometry. Once he saw that pattern, he could predict where the walls would be. He walked through the maze with his eyes closed, trusting his calculations instead of his fear. The voices grew louder, more desperate, throwing worse and worse visions at him. But he did not let them affect him. He focused only on the numbers, the patterns, the logic. After what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, he emerged from the maze into a clear space. The three mentalists opened their eyes and nodded. He had passed the first trial, but there was no time to rest. The second trial began immediately. The combat arena was a sphere, 50 meters in diameter, designed for zero-gravity fighting. Xian Wu floated into it from one side. From the other side came Kale. The Valerian warrior was impressive. He was taller than Haiyan Wu by half a meter. His silver skin rippled with enhanced muscles, and his light patterns glowed blood red with aggression. In his hands, he held traditional Valerian fighting sticks, which the rules allowed. "You should have stayed on your human ship," Kale said, his voice echoing in the sphere. "Now I will break you." The signal sounded, and Kale launched himself across the arena with frightening speed. His first strike caught Haiyan Wu in the ribs, and pain exploded through his chest. The impact sent him spinning through the zero-gravity, gasping for breath. Kale followed, relentless. His fighting sticks moved in patterns too fast to follow, striking again and again. Haiyan Wu tried to defend himself, but he was outmatched in every way. Kale was faster, stronger, better trained, and enhanced beyond normal limits. A strike to his shoulder dislocated it with a pop that made him scream. Another blow cracked his ribs. Blood floated in droplets around them, spinning slowly in the zero-gravity. Haiyan Wu's blood. "Submit," Kale demanded. "You have lost." "Accept it." But Haiyan Wu thought of Mi-san's words. Humans endure. They outlast. They refused to quit. He grabbed a piece of debris floating nearby and threw it at Kale, not to hurt him, but to distract him. Then he pushed off a wall with his legs, using the three-dimensional space in a way Kale, used to ground fighting, did not expect. Kale was faster and stronger. But Haiyan Wu was more creative. He used the zero-gravity environment differently, thinking in 3 dimensions instead of 2. He led Kale on a chase through the sphere, making the warrior tire himself out with his enhanced muscles that burned energy quickly. Minutes passed, then an hour. Kale's strikes remained powerful, but they came slower now. His enhancements were draining him. Meanwhile, Haiyan Wu kept moving despite his injuries, refusing to stop, refusing to give up. "Why will you not quit?" Kale shouted in frustration. "Because I love her," Haiyan Wu gasped through his pain. "And humans do not quit when we fight for love." Kale made a mistake then, born of frustration and exhaustion. He overextended on a strike, putting too much force into it. Haiyan Wu saw the opening and took it. He grabbed Kale's arm and used the warrior's own momentum against him, slamming him into the arena wall. Before Kale could recover, Haiyan Wu wrapped his arms around the warrior's neck in a chokehold, the one effective technique Mi-san had drilled into him again and again. It was not elegant. It was not sophisticated, but it worked. Kale struggled, his enhanced strength making it nearly impossible to hold him. But Haiyan Wu held on with everything he had left, his vision going dark from pain and exhaustion. He would pass out before he let go. He would die before he let go. Finally, Kale tapped his hand against Haiyan Wu's arm. The signal of submission. Haiyan Wu released him immediately and floated backward, barely conscious. Medical teams rushed into the arena to treat both fighters. Dr. Young Mi was there, her face full of worry as she examined his injuries. "You have 2 cracked ribs, a dislocated shoulder, internal bruising, and possible concussion," she said. "You should rest for days, maybe weeks." "How long until the 3rd trial?" Haiyan Wu asked. 1 hour, she replied. "Then I have 1 hour to rest," he said. She injected him with painkillers and stimulants, more than was probably safe. She popped his shoulder back into socket, making him scream. She wrapped his ribs tightly and gave him water. "You are insane," she said, but there was admiration in her voice. "I am human," he replied, as if that explained everything. The hour passed too quickly. Haiyan Wu could barely stand when they led him to the final trial chamber. But he forced himself to walk straight, to show no weakness. The 3rd trial was different from the others. It was a small, peaceful room with 2 chairs facing each other. Lyra was already there, waiting for him. When she saw his injuries, tears ran down her silver cheeks. "You should not have to do this while hurt," she said. "I will do whatever I must," he replied. A Valerian priest entered the room. Ancient and wise, his light patterned soft gold with age and knowledge. He explained the trial. "You will both drink this," he said, holding up a vial of glowing liquid. "It will join your consciousness together. You will experience the Velshar, the soul trial. Inside that space, challenges will appear designed to test whether your love is true and whether your souls are truly compatible. You must face these challenges together. If you succeed, your bond is recognized. If you fail, you will be separated forever, not just physically but spiritually. Your souls will reject each other." "We understand," Lyra said. They drank the liquid. It tasted like starlight and electricity. Haiyan Wu felt his consciousness expanding, reaching out, touching something that was Lyra, but also more than Lyra. The room faded away. They stood together in a space of pure light. Around them, visions began to form. They saw a future where their union caused war between humans and Valerians, where thousands died because of their love. They saw themselves old and regretful, realizing they had made a terrible mistake. They saw children who belonged to neither species, rejected by both, suffering in isolation. Each vision was designed to make them doubt, to make them question whether their love was worth the cost. But they held hands in that space of light, and they faced each vision together. "These are possibilities, not certainties," Lyra said. "And even if some come true, we will face them together," Haiyan Wu added. The visions grew more intense, more personal. But something unexpected happened. Their joined consciousness began to create something new. A resonance between human passion and Valerian serenity, between human stubbornness and Valerian wisdom. It was beautiful, something that neither species alone could create. The trial itself seemed surprised. The ancient ritual had never encountered such a thing before. After what felt like an eternity and no time at all, the light faded and they were back in the room. The priest's eyes were wide with wonder. "I have performed the Velshar many times," he said, "but never have I seen such perfect harmony between souls. The trial recognizes your bond as true. You have passed." Haiyan Wu collapsed then, all his strength finally gone. But he was smiling. They had done it. They had won. Haiyan Wu woke in the medical bay 2 days later. His body was covered in bandages and healing gel, but the pain was manageable now. The first face he saw was Lyra's, her purple eyes full of relief and joy. "You did it?" she whispered, holding his hand gently. "You won all 3 trials. No one can deny us now." But winning the trials was only the beginning of their challenges. News of Haiyan Wu's victory had spread across both ships and beyond. Reactions were mixed and intense. On the human ship, Counselor Ji-hoon called for an emergency vote. Haiyan Wu, still recovering, had to be wheeled into the council chamber on a medical bed. The counselor stood before the assembly with fury in his eyes. "This man has defied our customs and our laws," Ji-hoon declared. "He has put his selfish desires above the good of our community. I call for a vote to expel him from the eternal horizon. Let him leave with his alien if he loves her so much. We do not need traitors to humanity aboard this ship." The words stung, but Haiyan Wu had expected them. What he did not expect was what happened next. Me-Sun stood up from her seat, her security uniform crisp and her posture military straight. "May I speak, Council?" Captain Nam nodded. "Proceed, Officer Me-Sun." "My brother is not a traitor," she said, her voice ringing clear through the chamber. "He is the bravest person I know. You call his love selfish, but I call it revolutionary. Humanity has always been about reaching beyond our limits, exploring the unknown, connecting with what is different from us. That is how we survived on Earth. That is how we built ships to reach the stars. That is who we are." She turned to face the entire assembly, not just the council. "My brother faced 3 impossible trials and won. He proved that humans can compete with any species in the galaxy, that we can achieve anything if we refuse to give up. He showed the entire galactic concord what humanity is capable of. And you want to punish him for that?" Her words created a murmur through the crowd. Then Gae-Haiyan stood up. "I was wrong about Haiyan Wu and Lyra," he said. "I let fear and prejudice cloud my judgment. But I have learned from watching them. They taught me that love does not recognize species or culture. It only recognizes 2 souls that belong together. I vote against expulsion." One by one, others stood up to speak in support. Dr. Young-mi presented her research again, explaining the scientific importance of human-Valerian compatibility. Young crew members talked about hope for the future and the importance of building bridges instead of walls. When the vote came, it was closer than Haiyan Wu would have liked. But the result was clear. 6 votes for expulsion, 6 votes against. In case of a tie, Captain Nam had the deciding vote. "I vote against expulsion," the captain said firmly. "Haiyan Wu and Lyra have earned the right to be together. They will remain aboard the eternal horizon with my blessing." Ji-hoon stormed out of the chamber, defeated but not silenced. He would remain an opponent, but he was now in the minority. On the Valerian ship, a similar drama unfolded. Commander Vex called his daughter before him, his light patterns showing a complex mix of emotions. "You have shamed our family," he began. But his voice lacked conviction. Before he could continue, Kale entered the room. The warrior's pride was wounded, but his honor remained intact. "Commander, I have something to say," Kale announced. "I fought Haiyan Wu in the trials. I underestimated him because he is human and not a warrior. That was my mistake. He defeated me fairly, through courage and determination. He loves your daughter truly, more than I ever could have. According to the Tau Veris, he has earned the right to marry her. I release Lyra from our betrothal willingly." Vex stared at the warrior in surprise. "You would give up so easily?" "It is not giving up," Kale replied. "It is accepting reality. Lyra's heart belongs to another. Forcing her to marry me would only create bitterness and unhappiness. I want her to be happy, even if it is not with me." The commander sat in silence for a long moment. Finally, he looked at his daughter with sadness, but also acceptance in his eyes. "I have been a fool," he said. "I put tradition and politics above your happiness. I forgot that you are not just a tool for family alliance. You are my daughter, and I love you. If this human makes you happy, if he was willing to face death to be with you, then he has my blessing." Lyra embraced her father, tears of joy flowing freely. The wedding was planned for 2 weeks later, giving Hyun-woo time to heal. It would take place on the neutral space station, observed by representatives from multiple species. The Galactic Concord declared it a historic event, the first officially recognized union between a human and a VELARian. Dr. Young-mi worked with Valerian scientists to create a ceremony that honored both cultures. There would be human vows and Valerian soul-binding rituals. There would be music from both species and food that both could safely eat. On the day of the wedding, the station was decorated in colors from both worlds. Blue and silver ribbons floated in the zero-gravity sections. Flowers from Earth's seed banks and crystal formations from Valerian ships created a garden that belonged to both species, and neither Hyun-woo stood at the altar in formal clothes that mixed human and Valerian styles. Beside him stood Dae-hyun as his best man. On the other side, Sira waited as Lyra's maid of honor. Her earlier opposition transformed into cautious support. Then Lyra appeared, walking down the aisle with her father. She wore a dress that shimmered like starlight, her silver skin glowing with happiness. The light patterns under her skin created moving art, expressing emotions too deep for words. The ceremony was beautiful. They exchanged vows in both languages, promising to love each other across all barriers. The Valerian priest performed the soul-binding ritual, joining their essences in a way that both species could witness. When they kissed, the entire assembly erupted in applause and cheers that crossed species lines. At the reception, an amazing thing happened. Humans and Valerians, who had been suspicious of each other, began to talk and laugh together. They shared stories and found common ground. The wedding became a bridge between two peoples. Captain Nam and Commander Vex met privately during the celebration. They talked for hours about the future. When they emerged, they made an announcement that shocked everyone. "The Eternal Horizon and the Valerian fleet will travel together," Captain Nam declared. "We will share resources, knowledge, and protection. We will explore the galaxy as partners." The announcement created excitement and some worry, but most people saw the wisdom in it. Two species were stronger together than apart. In the months that followed, the partnership flourished. Human engineers learned from Valerian technology. Valerian scientists benefited from human creativity. Cultural exchange programs began. More relationships formed between the two species, though none as dramatic as Hyun-woo and Lyra's. Dr. Young-mi published her research, which became famous across the galaxy. Other species began to study human-alien compatibility with new interest. The idea that intelligent species might be more similar than different gained scientific support. 1 year after the wedding, Lyra came to Hyun-woo with news that made his heart soar. She was pregnant. Dr. Young-mi confirmed that the baby was healthy. A perfect blend of human and Valerian genetics. They stood together in the observation deck, the same place where they had first watched the stars together. Lyra's hand rested on her growing belly, and Hyun-woo's hand covered hers. "What should we name our child?" Lyra asked. "Something that means hope," Hyun-woo suggested. "Something that represents both our peoples." They watched their two fleets traveling together through space, human ships and Valerian ships moving in formation. What had started as a rescue mission had become a partnership. What had started as forbidden's love had become a symbol of unity. "I fought councils and laws and warriors to be with you," Hyun-woo said softly. "I would do it all again, without hesitation." "I know," Lyra replied, her light patterns glowing with love. "That is what makes you human. That stubborn refusal to accept defeat when fighting for what you love. That is what I fell in love with. Their baby kicked inside her, a small movement that promised the future. A future where humans and Valerians would raise children together. A future where love proved stronger than prejudice. A future where two species became one people. Haiyan Wu had battled those who stood in their way. He had faced impossible trials and overcome them through determination and love. He had proven that humans could achieve anything if they simply refused to give up. And now, looking at the stars with his wife and unborn child, he knew that the hardest battles were behind them. The future held challenges, certainly, but they would face those challenges together, as partners, as lovers, as family. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders. But the greatest wonder of all was standing beside him, silver skin glowing in the starlight, carrying their child and their hopes for tomorrow.